Hi, everyone. Welcome to our newest episode of Community Connection in the Lehigh Valley. I am Vicki Aloysia-Casella, licensed professional counselor in Easton, and my wonderful co-host, Mark Kenny. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing well, Vicki, doing well. And looking forward to today's program and guest.
Absolutely. So before we dive in, just our usual disclaimer, if anyone who is listening or watching is struggling with any severe mental health issues, we always encourage you to reach out to your support system, whoever that may consist of, medical doctor, caseworker, therapist, anyone in your community, and of course us as well. I think many of us realize at this point we're all struggling with something, so it's really important that we remember that we aren't alone and there's always someone out there willing to help. So just gonna keep that in mind. So our guest today, Amy, correct me if I say your last name wrong. It's Siock?
Siock.
Yep. Okay. I was close enough, right? Not bad.
Yes. That was pretty good.
So Amy, thank you for being here. We are going to be diving in and talking a little bit about divorce and the connection to mental health and all the things that come along with that topic. So, welcome, and we can dive right in. Just introduce yourself and your role and a little bit about what you do in the organization that you're working with.
Sure. Well, first of all, Vicki, Mark, thank you so much for having me. I'm very, very grateful. I've been a social worker over 20 years, and I think any opportunity, like you said, Vicki, everyone's kind of struggling with something. So anything to bring something out into the light. So I greatly appreciate you having me. So yes, again, Amy Siock. I am executive director of Alpha Resource Center, which is the nonprofit name is Alpha Community Education Foundation. Many of you might be familiar more with Alpha Center for Divorce Mediation. We're a bright yellow house that's been in downtown Doylestown for 25 years. I always kind of love to share this story because I'm very honored to work here. Keila Gilbert, the founding attorney of the Mediation Center, went through her own challenging divorce. Really started the first law mediation center in Bucks County, which is nice. You don't have two adversarial lawyers, you have one, and the goal is it to be more peaceful, less expensive. But what's really neat is after 25 years of work, she always had Alpha Resource Center as kind of like a sister company of Alpha Center for Divorce Mediation, but she really wanted to give back. She saw lots of families struggle with divorce, just like the core upheaval for everyone. So I am grateful to say that she turned to me to ask me to be executive director of this new nonprofit. So technically, so I'm from Alpha Resource Center.
Wonderful, thank you.
Sure.
So Amy, how about we get started with just some kind of basic understanding in terms of statistics around divorce and maybe main reasons, and then we can explore some other questions because I don't want to give you too many at once. So
sure,
how about some basic background information that would be helpful for our listeners?
Absolutely. So from my understanding, the good old divorce statistics still stand 50 to 60%. Second divorces, 70%, and third divorces, at least 70%, blended families 70%. So the statistics I don't aren't looking too positive. I think Corona, that I hesitate to speak too much about that, just because there is such a backup now in the court system. So I think the numbers are still out there. But one of the things that, again, I'm so appreciative to be here, was very concerning. The National Law Review did a research statistic, and by April of quarantine, so I think when did quarantine start? Good old March, so within a month or so, inquiries for divorce rose 34%. So I think that's pretty significant. I think the fallout is going to be pretty big. So I'm glad that, we can be here. As far as Mark, I think you said kind of what are the reasons. I think marriage is a lot of work. Yeah, it's a lot of work. One of our programs that we're starting here for our marriage success part of Alpha
Mhm.
Resource Center, it's called a couples tune-up. And it's, I think it's pretty neat. I'm biased, but long story short, a couple comes in, takes a quiz, and it really identifies all the different things that every single couple is going to face, you know, whether it's finance, intimacy, your own mental health issues, spirituality, who does the chores. So it's really a kind of neat way to look at that. It is a lot of work. And one of our programs, you know, Keela always says, you know, we take our cars to go get oil changes, right? I mean, of course we do, you know, but with the marriages, that doesn't always, you know, that doesn't always happen. And I think with Corona, for better, for worse, a lot of the pink elephants, you know, kind of came out under the rug. Houses saw the reality going on. So I think that's, again, for better or for worse, because it probably brought to light a lot of issues in people's homes. But yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for talking about the flip side in terms of, you know, how do we get information out to couples? Because really, when do we get like healthy relationships 101?
Yes.
So, you know, so important in the work is trying to get information out to people on the front end of
Yes.
situations.
And
really
thank you, Mark, so much for bringing that out. If anyone is to call, we have 12 locations, you know, Lehigh Valley, you know, Chester County, you know, 12 locations for the Center for Divorce Mediation. And whenever people call, I love to hear the attorneys say, are you sure this is where you want to go? You know, what else can be tried? So one of the parts of our mission is really to educate and support couples in sustaining healthy marriages, if that is the case. So
great.
And that's lovely because, you know, sometimes couples do just kind of go through a rough patch, you know, and so bringing them back to a place where, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be the end. There are other avenues that can be explored until, you know, reaching that decision of divorce. So it's nice that you guys do kind of cover both of it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's wonderful. What would you say are some of, and this could be a very long answer, so you just share what you feel is necessary, but some of the, you know, thoughts, common thoughts, feelings, perhaps mental health issues, things that you notice coming up in individuals during the divorce process?
Great question, Vicki. I guess the biggest thing, this is actually our New Beginnings group room where I do divorce support groups. And I say every time, get ready for an emotional roller coaster. Even if you wanted the divorce, even if it truly is a healthy choice for your family, you have to expect them. If you don't feel these feelings, you're totally in denial. You just are. They don't magically go away. It is a grief process. So I just, some of the ones that, you know, come to mind, sadness, anger, rage, shame, guilt, longing, embarrassment, fear of the future. It's probably one of the biggies. Not trusting yourself anymore. Excitement about the future, and then some guilt for that excitement. The overwhelmed, relief, freedom, excruciating pain, not feeling heard, exhaustion, and that's just a few of them. You know, but it really
That's the roller coaster. Yep.
Yes. So those I would say are the, and I think what, you know, I feel so blessed to do these groups because I have people call, what's wrong with me? I'm not sleeping. Well, you just found out your spouse of 30 years is having an affair. You know, like, of course you're not sleeping. Sleeping issues, absolutely. It just seems like a hands down thing from my experience. You know, I think, you know, depression, depression, but probably what I see personally, I've done this work for over 11 years, more divorce specialty, is anxiety. And we, you know, we know as mental health professionals, anxiety is when you don't have it within you to cope with all the different things. And, you know, you look at divorce, you talk to someone you talk to someone in a quote unquote healthy family. I don't really know exactly what that means anymore. And someone says, you know, oh my goodness, I'm moving. And so that other person will say, oh my goodness, that's so stressful. And did you get the mover? Divorce is lawyers, move, kids' house changes, kids going through the emotions. So I think that's where the anxiety comes in. You know, I think we could go on and on about this, but the self-medicating is just a very common thing. It's a lot to deal with. And, you know, it's easy to numb some of those feelings because it's a lot.
Sure. I really appreciate that you included the word excitement in that whole list of feelings, because I think the primary emotions that are felt during divorce are negative or feel negative, you know, so the realization that like you do reach a point, even through the messiness, where you have moments where you feel strong and you do feel like you trust yourself and you do know and feel that it's going to be okay, you know, and you're starting to accept the changes that are happening, you know, so there can be, you know, healing can be very, very messy, but there can also be a lot of moments of hope and beauty and all that as you're navigating it, you know, so I just appreciate that, you know, it's like, oh, sadness, anger, excitement, oh yay, okay, there is something that's not too terrible in that whole
and
mess.
thank you for bringing that up. I think we started a New Beginnings group last week, and it was a neat story, because one lady said, hey, I think she's probably been about a year into it. And she goes, oh my goodness, I was in my new kitchen and I started singing. She said it was so weird, but it was good. And so those are the neat things. And that's why we really try to stress, we put divorce support group out there because it gives more clarity of what it is. However, we call it New Beginnings because I always start off with a meditation. I always try to include, you know, songs, and because regardless of whether you want it or not, it's a new beginning. And so to speak to your point, Vicki, yes, you have to be able to look at the silver lining of that.
And I think also you used the word relief, and I know in the literature that's also sometimes, and particularly when I worked with adolescents going through this, in a sense, they were relieved. So I think at the same time, the adults are so concerned about outcomes, and yet one of the outcomes could be a sense of relief.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that point, Mark, because I get parents all the time, oh my gosh, my kids are going to be crushed. I'm like, I'm kind of guessing they're feeling the energy of, you know, in other words, I don't think sometimes, you know, kids aren't always surprised. So to put a name to that, I agree, Mark. Yeah.
Well, talking about that, how does one then take care of their mental health during this journey?
Thank you for a great question.
So how's that journey of new beginning?
Yeah. So my biggest thing, I went through a divorce when my babies were 1, 3, and 5, you know, as I'm a, you know, and that social worker, you know, give personality, you know, for better, for worse. The first thing I always say, let go right away at the I'm not good at receiving help philosophy. Throw it out the window. We all hear it so much, the airplane mask, but I personally, I found that the most helpful thing, if you do not put on your air mask, you will not be able to function as a parent. You will not be able to function at work. It will compound all of your stressors. So the first one is truly that self-care. The other one, a support plan for your kids. And I mean a plan. Recruit your family for weekly dates to get kids, swap services with another single parent. You know, I was the poster child for the Y financial aid. You know, at first it was embarrassing, but it was a way to work out and get my own game on. And I was a better mom. there's probably an elderly neighbor that would love to watch your children, you know, so you can answer that lawyer email, you can take a deep breath. And, you know, I understandably, and everyone's finances are different. Divorce is certainly very hard on finances, but there's, you know, possibly really looking at is there a latte factor? Is there, and for some people, I completely get there's not, that could be cut out. You hire care.com to just do things that, you know, you would usually do. Two more points. I guess they're a big one for me. Healthy outlets for anger, and positive supports. I personally am a big mind body person. And this, in order to move through this, you have to release it, learn to run, kickbox, do yoga, Reiki, lift, walk, anything you can. And when in positive supports, I can go into that a little bit more, but people that you truly can feel heard, but at the end of the conversation, they're going to say, you know what, Mark, you know, yes, wow, this is hard. Thank you for venting, but you know, like, what's the next step you can take? Lastly, you know, there's done all that cool research out there. I'm sure you guys are familiar with the neuroplasticity, and rebuilding the positive. So really making a conscious effort to regularly feed your head with knowledge and wisdom and guidance from people who have been there, from people who've been divorced, that have got the other side. We have a website, alpharesourcecenter.com, and obviously it's open 24/7. But I warn everyone, texting your ex at 2 a.m. is, I would encourage you to instead, when you can't sleep, to try to read. We have articles on there, we have blogs, but look at some positive information.
And when would you recommend or help someone know when maybe they need professional help? What would be some indicators that, you know, people in the community or other loved ones around that particular person might notice and you know, think about, maybe you need a little more help than the support system you have around you?
Absolutely. Great question. I'm biased. It's one of the things I want to, I think everyone needs, when you're going through divorce, needs whatever your comfort level is, whether it's a therapist, a coach, a support group. But I think it's just such an overwhelming thing. So you're able to, you know, kind of funnel that. I think some of the signs are when you're moving through it and you're still at that family gathering and you have someone in the corner for 40 minutes, you know, still venting to Aunt Sally about, and then this happened. And then, so really recognizing in a family member that they're not, that they're really still, they're still feeling those feelings, which is good, but not getting to as much resolution. Again, I think going back to the other question, you know, they're not sleeping, they're not eating. Yes, it's easy. I hate to bring up the suicide word, but your life is your life as you know it. The most common age for divorce now, it's called a gray hair divorce. And so I have people come in the groups and, you know, and again, they're like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm like, you have had your married identity for 30 years and it's gone. And your family identity for your kids. So, you had asked about kind of like the signs. So just the depression, the sleeping more, the not going to work, the not able to do the not going out socially, you know, we go through with divorce, you naturally go through changes of friends, family relationships. But when someone's really isolating and not seeking out other supports.
Yeah, great. Those are all excellent points. Thanks, Amy, for sharing.
Oh, sure.
So, you know, at this point, we've kind of been talking about what parents, or I guess the adults, would be noticing in themselves. And of course, I think one of the main questions that people ask when they find out someone's getting divorced is, well, what about the kids? You know, why aren't you going to stay together for the kids? How are they going to be affected by this? So that's, I think, the next logical question to dive into is, you know, how do you see children being affected? Not just negatively, but I guess even positively, the positive that could be coming up.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing it up, because it reminds me, the third part of our mission, I'm going to read it straight off, is to ensure that children are fully protected and prioritized for greater resilience during after divorce. Yeah, on a personal level, I feel like I have a little bit more flexible and resilient kids. They do make it to the other side, you know, 11 years later. But I think that's it, Vicki, is the prioritizing them. There is no judgment of any parent going through this, that it is very hard to, it's very hard to get yourself together. But I think with the children, I guess my biggest points are, a lot depends on you as the parent, how your kids are going to do. Are you still disciplining your kids? They're going through changes there, but that's a very common thing, you know, and kids need discipline and they need structure. So structure with that visitation schedule, however you can, you know, so that the kids know this is the change, but we go to daddy's on Friday. It decreases that anxiety. Regular, again, I guess this is kind of where also the parent self-care comes in. Schedule play dates for them, anything they can still do to be regular kids. Yes, you may feel like I can never get them to baseball, get them to baseball, you know, get them engaged with their friends. You know, the very biggies, not putting the kids in the middle. It is hard, but not putting the kids in the middle. Reinforcing that both parents love them. Kids need to know that they're loved. It is not their fault and they're loved. And then kind of one of the last points on that, inform your, I love the word, you know, Mark, you brought up community. Inform people in the community. You know, back to school is going to come. Tell that teacher before, you know, just so, even if you think your kid is thriving, you know, I just want a heads up that our family is going through divorce, or that our family went through a divorce, you know, a year ago. And then a couple other points for the kids. One of the wonderful services I feel blessed to offer is I'm the therapist referral coordinator here. Just call. If you know, Mark, you mentioned symptoms. Just call. Hey, I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's the divorce. Maybe it's just my teenager having hormones. I don't know what to do. I'm a therapist referral coordinator for, you know, a bunch of different counties. It's not going to hurt to ask. We're very blessed. I personally will be doing a teen divorce support group here on Sunday nights. So that's a positive. And then there's someone else on this Zoom, Vicki, who will be doing, just so grateful, who'll be doing a kids divorce story hour by Zoom, which I am so happy about, because it gives, you know, Vicki's obviously a licensed professional counselor, and it gives parents a chance to sit next to their child, you know, read a couple books, have Vicki lead the tough questions. And that's two more points on that. Here at Alpha, the Divorce Mediation Center, when you go through our program, you have to see a parenting mediator. I love that about us. Even the best couples, I just think it's a very healthy thing. If you've never been through divorce, it's a very healthy thing, versus a lot of times if you go through the court system, they'll have a custody evaluation. It just even sounds scary, you know, and then they've got the kids. Well, I guess the last point of that is, Vicki, you speak to, kids are resilient. They really are. You know, and I think, Mark, you spoke to a little bit, you know, being in a family where lots of pink elephants are going on, things are not being addressed. There's a lot of tension in the house. That's not a healthy environment either. So kids really can be resilient, but, you know, kind of end with that. I think a lot depends on you as a parent.
It's interesting, just one more point that I want to make about that. I love working with adolescents, and it actually isn't uncommon that I've had adolescents come into my office and actually tell me, I wish my parents would get divorced, because they argue so much that I don't want to hear it anymore. And it's so interesting and insightful to be able to hear it from the children's perspective, because the other perspective is parents should always stay together for their children. And then you hear it from the children's perspective, and it's like, I don't want them to act like that or be like that. I'd rather them be separate and be happy and healthy. Yes. Isn't that what we're striving for? Like, isn't that what we should want, like, the environment to be for our children? So it's great to be able to have the kids have an opportunity to speak up and say, like, I don't want people to assume what I want or need or think. Like, I can share what I actually want and need and think. So hopefully that those groups provide that opportunity for them to be heard, instead of being consumed by what their parents are going through.
Absolutely. Great point. Great point. And just even that of making a conscious check of, let me check in with my kids. How are they about this? So yeah, thank you, Vicki.
Sure.
We sort of addressed this, but maybe if there's more that you want to add to this.
Sure.
How do each of these entities, I guess for a word, help in the healing process? So like support groups, like what is a support group? Some people might even know what a support group is, and how is that helpful for healing? And then we'll talk about coaches, and then talk about helping professionals. How does each of those play a helpful role in the healing process?
Absolutely. Great question. I had I have 4 men in a group of 6 this time, really neat. And one stopped by before, and I said, come upstairs and see the room. It's not that scary, so it's actually this room, but just 6 chairs or so. But I found personally, and for it should be a safe place. I get it all the time. Oh my God, can I curse in here? Absolutely. Like, this is a place that once a week you can come to say truly what's going on. I always encourage group members, when you're at school, when you're at work, and someone says, hey, Mark, how's your day going? You're going through a divorce. Like, probably not the appropriate time to say, and then this happened, So I always encourage group members, when you're going around your week, take your iPhone or whatever kind of phone you have. And if something comes up, a divorce trigger, write it down. And I think that's where groups are helpful. It's coming in and saying, like a man said last week, he's going through a second divorce. He said, what's wrong with me? I feel like a failure, So the divorce group should really be a safe place to vent, other people that get it. I tried so hard for a while. I had my own divorce support group practice, getting just men only and just women. And I found that having to combine them, it was okay, because everyone's going through that grief process. So that's really just a safe place to vent. And I love, one of my favorite things about the groups, the last time, inevitably, people are like, hey, we're still going to keep in touch, right? And they're sending each other their numbers, and they're going out. So I think it's that, just that validation, that validation is probably the biggest thing.
Wonderful. How about what are coaches, and when would you call upon a coach? How's that helpful?
Yes. So I guess, nowadays, I think somebody, with whether it's a counselor or a coach that specializes in divorce, I think going back to that overwhelming point, I mean, I personally would recommend at first even seeing someone, twice a week, to go in there and just be able, you have someone else that you can, you just kind of have like an earthquake trauma. So now that's the coach's job, the counselor's job, to say, whoa, I have it. Like, I understand these are the different areas. You're concerned about finances. You're concerned about Joey's mental health now, and to break it up for you. So I find that's where, and And that's their job, that's their job to really, say, hey, Vicki, that might be on your mind this week, but I'm really concerned about this aspect, or you haven't called a financial advisor. So I think that just that weekly check-in, just to make sure is what's important about it.
Mhm. Wonderful. So putting that all together, that gives you a nice foundation that you, after this earthquake, you're trying to put a foundation back, and these are all
Yep.
wonderful systems to tap into to help you do that.
Yes,
So you're not alone.
yeah, absolutely. And another a common dynamic always comes up in groups, and I think it's important to bring to light. Family and friends, always have, good intentions. They can be extremely helpful depending on the person. They are very invested in you. They have known you forever. Their emotions about this. I just think it's important for people to understand them seeing their sister or their daughter or, whoever involved. It's a loss for them too. It can be the loss of their brother-in-law, the sister-in-law. So that's why I really do recommend professional help, because sometimes with a family member can be a lot of regurgitated emotions, and then you can be in a good place, and then understandably, your parent might be angry about the situation. So I'm not at all saying to not seek their support. I just did a double negative. But I guess that's why I encourage professional support, because same thing with friends. We have married friends, we have people that may have a certain, feeling about, what was the divorce? Are they okay with that or not? So it becomes this time of confusion with friends of, who's really going to be able to support you in a healthy way.
Yeah. Wonderful, Amy. Thank you.
Sure.
So you already touched base on some of the different services that the Alpha Center offers, but if you could maybe do a quick run through again of like all the different services that the community can reach out to you for.
Absolutely. Thank you. Again, the website, alpharesourcecenter.org, 24/7. Again, blogs, videos, articles. I mean, for years now, some really neat therapists we have, do vlogs, blogs. The second, I'm the therapist referral coordinator. As I said, don't just call me. It's 800-310-9085. Just call and ask. I can always tell you that it doesn't seem like much of a concern now, but so the therapist referral coordinator, again, obviously the New Beginnings divorce support group. That is, as of now, Thursday night, 6:30 to 7:30. It's a 6-week group. I like to keep it the same 6 people, just because we're talking about such confidential information, our families, our babies. But we are very open to, dropping the kids off at preschool, kindergarten. I would love to start a group then. We can do a lunch group. So we're really looking to expand those. Again, the teen group is looking to start Sunday nights here in Doylestown, 8 to 9. We try to figure out a time that all these active teenagers could possibly make it, And again, back to Vicki, your kids' divorce story hour, which will be a 4-week session. As many kids can come to the Zoom meeting, in your pajamas or whatever. But Vicki has 2 divorce books she'll be going through. And helping with those. And then I guess a couple more things. Like I said, for the marriage success part of our program, we have marriage success, divorce survival, and new beginnings. And we're really looking to start the couples tune-up program. So you come in, you take the assessment, we can refer you to a marriage counselor if needed, but it's kind of going through the same maintenance for a year, getting positive daily affirmations. And then I guess the last 2 points, if just even hearing this, maybe it's making you think, oh gosh, are we headed for divorce, or should I? Our mediation, it's a free consult. You don't lose anything. So if you're at that point, I don't think it hurts to explore that. Many wonderful family attorneys out there. I'm not at all saying that, but it tends to be once that attorney's called, the language is just scary right off the bat, so-and-so versus so-and-so. So we really encourage you to call and see if that's the path. Yeah, and I guess again, last thing, I guess one of our biggest goals is we just want to be here for not only married couples either, dating couples. Mark, you brought up, I love that. Like, no one really gives you a course on this. I mean, all those young couples looking to get married, we can make this the couples tune-up fun, but just call if you're struggling, any family member. And we just have so many resources that I think we can guide a wise decision. It's your life, it's your family, it's your kids. So.
Could you just repeat your phone number one more time for our
Sure.
viewers?
Absolutely. It's 1-800-310-9085.
Wonderful. So much wonderful information, Amy. I think it's fantastic. I think if there's one thing we could all agree on is that relationships are not always easy.
Yes.
No matter what dynamic it is, no matter what relationship. So we all need some level of guidance at some point to kind of work through that. Mark, did you have any other questions or thoughts or anything before we end?
My thought is, what a wonderful resource in the community, and I'm glad that we're getting this information out to the community, because you seem to really have the kind of service and mission that people really need to know about. So that's my thought. So thank you, Amy, for taking time out of your day and sharing all of this with us.
Yeah, my pleasure, my honor, all that good stuff. So
Amy, last thoughts or anything else that you wanted to share?
Yeah, well, again, just gratitude for being here. And again, just please, just call, no questions, lots of important stuff. So please call. Yeah.
It's the first step, right? When everything seems so scary and chaotic, the first step is quick phone call, quick email. Let me just put it out there, and you never know what kind of, opportunities are gonna, present themselves for guidance. All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much to our viewers. Please feel free to reach out if you have any further questions, and we hope you have a wonderful day.